Beautiful, good to see you. You have a good holiday? Just wonder, how's the family? Huh?
All right, got 1 minute. 1 minute to start. Good morning, 1 million cups, Daytona Beach. Welcome back, 2025. Good to see everybody. Hope you all had a great holiday season. Everybody was safe and had a good time. I'm Tom Jordan, one of the organizers here. I'm going to do the introductions today. So back for 2025, the organizers, we have Carlos. Where are you, Carlos? Where are you going? Somewhere. Carlos, we have, there's Sean, Val, Charlie, and Casey's right here in the front with her service dog in training. So I want to thank everybody for coming out. Hope you had a great 2024. We're looking forward to a great 2025. We've got to thank some folks here. Cinematique, one of the best venues you'll ever find to host anything. And one of the best venues around for any of the 1MCs. If you look at any of them on video, watch them on live video, man, this place is great. So they take good care of us. I want to thank Volusia County Business Economic Development folks. They help fund this. And we really appreciate their involvement, their work with us to help the entrepreneurial community here in Daytona Beach and the Volusia County area. Listen, anybody? So we've got a speaker today. For those of you who are new, maybe your first time, we have a presentation from a local entrepreneur or from someone who's thinking about starting a business, has a business, is looking for help, looking for ideas, and want to tell you what they're doing. And we offer advice, comments, and suggestions. It's a supportive environment, so we take good care of each other and help each other out. There's a lot of business that goes on between the folks that are in this room, and we appreciate everybody. So after that, after we do the presentation, then we'll have Q&A through the rest of the morning. Our goal is always to get out of here by 10 o'clock so that you can get on your way, so we don't run long or anything like that. So without further ado, I want to introduce, first of all, Lou Paris, who's here from Volusia County Economic Development. He's been involved with this organization for a long time, and we appreciate him. So, Lou?
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. It feels like a homecoming.
Yay, Lou!
This place is, the power behind this place is amazing. The presentations that have taken place here, I've seen a lot of success happen. I've seen a lot of learning happen. And the combination of both can only make this region a phenomenal place to live and thrive. So, really, really excited to be back. Now, I'm here right before our phenomenal speaker, and we had a brief conversation. I'm excited to hear about, I've done a little bit of yoga. I work out a lot, but I don't stretch enough, so I think I'm at that point where I have to do it. Oh yeah. And I want to tell you, just in a couple of minutes, I want to share with you 4 very brief stories, okay? And first I want to tell you about Thomas Torek. He invented a little quick clip for fishing. You see he's holding a fishing rod. When you're fishing and you break an eyelet, he invented a little piece that you can attach while you're in the middle of a lake or ocean. You can continue competing. In his case, he's a competitive fisherman. And he recently got, a while back, he got an investment for about $120,000. And just recently told me that he's about to enter the market. And I think he has a large retailer that specializes in outdoor equipment, and he's about to launch his product. Really, really excited about that. Then we have Jalissa Zolko, who invented the simplest thing. It's like a sleeve that you put on a car seat. So when you're driving around, you know how I carry a lot of stuff in the passenger seat, and you put things on that sleeve and you can drive around. She got a patent for that. Now the cool thing is that after that patent application, she and I think because of that, she was accepted into a very prestigious law program in the state of Florida. And very recently, she got her degree and was barred in the state of Florida. Phenomenal success story with her. Bryson Pritchard invented, admittedly, a little more complex technology. You can see he's holding a picture of a syringe that has 2 colors, 2 compartments. And this is, the red one was to inject the medicine, and the blue in the back was the saline solution to flush the line if you're doing it through IV. And that idea was able to make it through a patent process, and later through a licensing with a company for an undisclosed amount. But the cool thing is that this kid, right out of college, was able to land a job because of that invention with Stryker, a healthcare manufacturer, to the tune of about $150,000. Imagine graduating college and you're making $150,000. But it happened because of that invention. And I want to focus on the guy. Let me see if I have the Jesus Christ lookalike. Long hair. He invented a platform. Imagine Facebook for senior citizens who want to tell their story, and they want to have leave their legacy behind for future generations, so they know who they were. That platform was an epic failure. However, because he was very persistent, he figured, okay, I need to make this successful. How do I do it? So he kind of deployed an army of people to go into retirement and assisted living facilities to connect with the senior citizens, to be able to capture their stories, because they were not necessarily computer savvy, and plug that story into the platform. And in doing so, he discovered that those facilities need help connecting with the residents to understand how they can improve their services. Very recently, he had a $9 million valuation on the company. crazy. Now, all of these 4 stories, as disjointed as they sound, have something in common. They were all part of the Cairns Innovation Challenge here in Volusia County. The Innovation Challenge has been, for the last 12, 13 years, I think, a business pitch competition for college students enrolled in higher education institutions in this county. So every year we had that competition, and every participant had, and I only showcased 4 out of, imagine 13 years multiplied by 2 winners plus everyone else who applied. Sometimes the most successful stories came from the people who lost, and they were able to go on and do great things. One person who I'm not mentioning today, didn't highlight, was someone who lost the competition, yet was able to make it into there's a show that is no longer, it was called The $1 Billion Idea on Fox, and she made it into the program, and just her life kind of exploded since. She has gone on to do some great, phenomenal things. Now, why am I telling you this? As last I checked, we are not, college students anymore, and it's because for the first time ever, we're opening this. It's now the Volusia Innovation Challenge. It's open to everyone in Volusia County. So all the people in this room, as long as you live here, you're eligible to compete in the Volusia Innovation Challenge. And I would strongly encourage you, even if you have you think it's a little idea or a big one, even if you're already in business, to actually go ahead and participate and apply. Because the worst thing that can happen is that through this experience, you're going to get a lot of feedback. You're going to be connecting with people in the community who have the knowledge, the connections, the expertise to help you move forward, even if it's just an inch or a mile. They're going to be able to help you. Now, if you have a phone and this resonates with you, here's the QR code for the application. The application opened this week, and it's going to be open through January 31st. And everyone who applies, let me move to the side here, will get a lot of feedback. Everyone who applies, and we have made it a point, in fact, we gave ourselves a rule that every person who applies will get significant feedback so they understand how to move their idea forward, even if they don't qualify to the next round. Okay? So I'm hopeful that I know that we have a room, and probably more than one entrepreneur in the room. There's no reason at all that you should not be considering this. Let me go back to this innovation challenge. It can change your life, even if whether it's advancing your idea, making it, taking it to the next level, or empowering you and giving you the connections to enhance your career, to enhance your knowledge. It's a phenomenal thing. So thank you for the opportunity to share this with you. I'm hopeful to see your applications. And so, yeah, we'll advance this county.
Thank you, Lou. That was fantastic. Good information. Folks participated in this. So let's move on. I want to get to our presenter today. She's got a fantastic story to tell, and I'd like to introduce her and have everybody pay attention, and then have comments and ideas later. So let me introduce Krista Oakes here to do her presentation.
Right. It's the down arrow, right? Hi, everybody. Everybody talks about that light being bright. It is bright up there. I know I need to hold this close, right? Is this actually on?
Touch the bottom. Touch the bottom. Bottom.
Hello?
Yeah.
There we go. Hi, everybody. I am Krista Oakes, and I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me. I'm kind of newer to 1 Million Cups and have been really enjoying coming to the meetings and learning about all the amazing things that are going on in the county. I have been in the community teaching yoga and meditation for probably about 20 years now. And it's something that I love to do and I'm passionate about. I am also a mom. I have 2 kids that are 2 boys actually that are 23 and 26. I am, believe it or not, a step parent to 5, and they range in age from 10 to 40. I know, how does that happen? I am most recently an author. I published my book actually this time last year, and I am a public speaker, and I am also a liar. And I have been lying for most of my life. I have been keeping secrets and wearing masks, pretending to be someone I'm not, for a very long time. For most of my life, actually. And I did this because I really believed it would keep me safe, it would protect me, it would keep me happy. But I'm actually here to tell you that lying will really rob you of joy. So you might be asking, how did I get to be such a good liar? Well, I am actually the biological child of 2 gay parents. Does that make sense? Think about that, right? Your wheels are turning. I am a biological child of 2 gay parents. So what that means is that my mother and my father, both my mom and my dad, were both gay. But they grew up in a time, that's them at the top, they grew up in a time when being gay wasn't even understood. The word lesbian didn't really exist. Nobody spoke about what it meant to be gay or lesbian. So even though they had those feelings, they met in college. It's really a very beautiful love story in so many ways because they really did adore each other. They became very, very close friends. And they decided to get married, because that's what you did then. You got married. So they got married, and they had both me and my sister. And then after some time of being married, they really kind of realized, I think I probably could be happier. My mom kind of went to my dad and said, I feel like maybe I could be happier. And my dad said, I feel the same way. And after several years, they got divorced. My mom fell in love with a woman, that's them down here. And my dad fell in love with a man. I'm happy to say my parents, my mom and Linda, are actually here today. And they were together over 40 years. Yeah. So, I grew up in a family of 6, me and my sister, my mom and my dad, my other mom and my other dad. So these are just some family pictures. So we grew up with this secret of having gay parents. And when I was young, I learned pretty quickly that this was a secret we needed to hold. I was actually a kid on the playground, went up to one of the kids and said, I have 2 moms. And from that point on, I was bullied. Both my sister and I were harassed. Came home one day to, in the neighborhood, and somebody had taken a key to my mom's car all along the side of the car. It wasn't a fancy car, but it was her car. It was her car that got her to work each and every day that she used to help take care of us kids. It was devastating. We decided at that time to actually move. We moved to a different town. We got a different house. And we kind of agreed as a family that this was a secret that we could not tell, that we needed to hold very close to our hearts. And actually, when we got a little bit older, I remember my sister got close to a boyfriend, right? When you get older, you're trying to meet friends and boyfriends, and you've got this big secret that you don't want to tell them. My sister actually told her boyfriend, and when they were getting ready to break up, she wanted to break up with him. He said, if you break up with me, I'm going to tell the whole school you have 2 gay parents. So we learned to keep this secret. I became a very good liar. We had cover stories. We learned to be evasive and pretend. People would come to the house, and we actually had an entire room in the house dedicated to call Linda's room, who we called a family friend who needed a place to stay, who was helping my single mom. We had this whole story, so that when people came over, we could explain Linda's existence and just pray that they didn't go into the master bedroom and discover that there were 2 people really sharing that room together. So I learned to keep this secret, and I learned to lie. Oops. So this is actually my dad and Reese. Yes, my dad did yoga. Can you believe that? Now I know where I get it from. He was a very serious guy. He was a psychologist. He was a theologian. He was a self-proclaimed channeler. He would do yoga and meditate. And Reese, on the other hand, was quite different than that. He was always smiling. He was laughing, joyful, a little bit more flamboyant, certainly than my dad was. And he just always had this big smile on his face. Until the day he didn't. I was in college, and my sister was away at college, when my parents had arranged a conference call. This was before FaceTime and Zoom and all the ways we make that happen easily today. So this was no small feat. They had to make a lot of effort to make this phone call happen. And this phone call was to tell us that Reese had been diagnosed HIV positive. Needless to say, it was devastating. It was sad because not only was Reese beginning to show signs of being unwell, we naturally wondered what that meant for my dad. Did that automatically mean that he had a death sentence? And this was during the time when still AIDS was not really understood. We were just figuring it all out. And so there was a lot of fear. And I was afraid, again, to tell people about my family. I was in college. I was in college in Pennsylvania and had to find a way to find a cover story so that the grief that I was experiencing made sense to my friends. But really it didn't. I couldn't find a cover story that accurately, made people believe what was going on. And I was very fortunate at the time that I had a really good connection, a relationship with the chaplain at the church. And the grief was so great, and I was struggling so much to manage at school that I wound up talking to him about my family. And he encouraged me to tell my story. I was actually an English major, and I wrote a semester paper called I Blame You for My Writing. It's a pretty hostile piece, actually. But it was effective. They actually asked me to publish it in the school literary magazine. Nobody's really going to read it. Well, they did. And they invited me to speak on a panel. There was a woman coming who wrote a book. Her son had died of AIDS. And so they asked me to be on the panel to help educate the students about this thing that was still so misunderstood. And so I began to tell my story. And I began to feel a freedom that I hadn't really ever felt. And it was because I was telling my story, speaking the words. I was no longer holding on to this secret just so close that crippled me with fear. Fear of what people would think about me, fear of my friends not liking me anymore, fear of my safety. And so I really want to invite you to tell your story. Most of us, I venture to say all of us, have secrets. Even if they're not, we hold things in because we are afraid. Whatever that secret is, whatever it is that you are ashamed to share with other people because you're afraid of what will happen, telling your story really is the antidote to that shame. Now, you don't have to tell your story in writing a book or speaking on a panel. Maybe there's somebody close to you that you can speak to. Maybe you get a journal and you write your story just for you. But somehow get it out and be honest about your story. So, This is my dad. He made it to my sister's wedding. He actually walked her down the aisle with my mom in his wheelchair. He made it to my graduation in May, my college graduation. He died in June, and we had his memorial service on Father's Day. It was sad. Those years, it was so crazy because those years were so tragic and sad. And people were dying like crazy. But it was also some of the most joyful of my life because I learned so much about myself from telling my story. How can you not smile, right? So after college, I kind of had to say, okay, time to move on. And I actually learned to meditate, took TM, Transcendental Meditation. Some of you might have heard of that. And so after college, I said, I'm going to start meditating again. And I in our local community, they had a TM center where you could go meditate in a group with other people. And there was a social hour after that. So I went to the meditation, and I met a man. I met my husband. And at this point, I was just so tired. I was just exhausted from the grief and the loss. And he offered me comfort. He kind of picked me up, swooped me off my feet, and took care of me. He was older. He seemed wiser. I was like, somebody else to kind of take the reins for a little while. And he did. For a very long time. Until the time came when you start to realize things aren't as good as you think they are. You're not quite as happy as you think you should be. Very much like my mom and my dad. Came a point in the relationship where I'm like, I feel like maybe I should be happier than this. I feel like maybe there's more to life than this. And my husband at the time was quite controlling. Always made me feel like I wasn't enough. Always made me feel like I would never, I didn't need enough on my own. Made me feel like I was dependent on him. And he really made our kids feel the same way. Unfortunately, this wasn't just me. This was also our kids. And so Christopher, this sweet little boy with that really big smile on his face, as big as that smile is about as big as his scream can be. One day he was screaming, I couldn't even tell you what. He was probably 6, 7, 8 years old. He was tantruming about something. Screaming, crying. Couldn't get him to stop. So my husband at the time said, I'll get him to stop. Because he didn't do well with kids and he didn't deal with chaos well. And he just needed it to stop. So he actually took my son under the arms, he picked him up, went over to our pool and threw him in the pool. And this was in the winter. Our pool was not heated. It was cold. So Christopher comes climbing up the stairs, soaking wet, crying, still screaming. My husband picks him up again, goes back to the pool, throws him in again. Again, Christopher comes out. He's soaking wet, freezing, shivering, still crying. I mean, wouldn't you be? He picks him up again, throws him in the pool. And this happened over and over again. In my mind, it happened 100 times. It was probably, 10 times he threw him in the pool until eventually, I think just from exhaustion, Christopher finally stopped screaming. And I did nothing to stop it. I didn't know what to do to stop it. I tell you that story and I sit here and I think, why did you let that happen? How, as his mother, did you not stop that? Why did it get to 10 or 100 times? I didn't know what to do. And actually, history had told me at this point that to interfere would make things worse. And so I did everything I could when the situations like this happened just to diffuse it. But I carry a lot of shame today about not doing more for my kids. And I had to really, work to forgive myself. Because when I look back, it doesn't make sense. I don't understand now, looking back, how that happened, how I let that happen. And I spent a lot of days beating myself up for that. But there came a point where I just had to move on and forgive myself and understand the circumstances at the time. And I truly encourage you. My guess is there's things that you've done that you're not proud of. There's mistakes that you've made that you're beating yourself up about. And today I'm sharing with you this pathway to joy and peace. One of the ways you get there is through forgiveness. Forgive yourself. It heals. It heals the shame, the secrets, the lying. So as I told you, there came a point in the marriage where I said, I think I probably could be happier. And so I started reading books and going to retreats and working on myself. I actually read Daring Greatly by Brene Brown. Anybody in here read that book? It was very pivotal in my healing process. And she talks all about being vulnerable. I said, I need to do that. I want to feel better. I want to be more myself. So I thought, okay, well, within my marriage, I'm going to start showing up more as myself. And find the strength that comes from being vulnerable. And so I would, in little ways, I tried to be myself. Being vulnerable is a strength. It's not a weakness. All of those times where I felt like I wasn't good enough, it didn't matter. I needed to be myself and just show up as I am. So I kind of culminated in my marriage to a point where I got this opportunity to go to Australia. Actually, a very dear friend of mine who's from Australia invited me to go with her. I was so excited because, you know, it's a totally different experience when you get to travel a country with somebody who's actually from that country, right? It's a whole different experience. So I was super excited. I went to my husband and I said, I've been invited to go to Australia. He said, I don't want you to go. I said, what do you mean you don't want me to go? Now, to put this in a little bit of perspective, my husband had traveled a lot. He went on trips with his friends. He would go to exotic places. And I always stayed home with our kids. He actually went away one time for 3 months to India to go find himself. I said, okay, honey, if that's what you need. I supported him. I took care of our business, our home, our family. And here I was in front of him. I'm going to be vulnerable. I said, I really want to go to Australia. My kids weren't even little. They were like, 12, 15. They didn't even be spoon-fed. They could basically take care of themselves. And he said, I don't want you to go. And I said, well, I'm going to go. I'm going to go anyway. He said, I want a divorce. And the challenging thing about this was that I had this idea that all I needed to do was show up vulnerable, to start to use my voice, and everything would be okay. I'd get the result that I thought was what I wanted. And instead, I heard, I want a divorce. I did not want to be divorced. I saw it as a failure. I saw it as reflection of my shortcomings. I didn't want to break up my family. I didn't want my kids to be children of divorced parents. But I didn't have a choice. And so I just said, okay, let's just see how this goes. And I had to really surrender. I did make it to Australia, which you already know the ending because you saw the picture, but I did make it to Australia. I did go. And when I came back, we had a wonderful time, beautiful trip of a lifetime. When I came back, I had to start with unraveling my life and deal with getting divorced, telling my kids and all that goes along with that. But I really had to have faith in something greater than myself, not knowing what the result of my life was going to be, now divorced. I had to just surrender. I had to release any idea of what was going to happen in my life next. That might be God, it might be nature, it might be your higher self. It doesn't matter what you call it. But I do believe that having faith is important. If you've ever imagined a baby bird in a nest, it's safe, and it's comfortable, and warm, you're safe. But at some point, that bird has to leave the nest. And I bet we've all felt times where we're like, this is really safe and comfortable here. I have no idea, no desire to see what's out there. But that bird, at some point, goes to the end of the branch and takes that leap and just spreads its wings. Doesn't know where it's going to land. Doesn't even know how to fly. Doesn't know if it can fly. But takes that leap. So I took that leap. I spread my wings. And I just said, okay, this is what I have to do. I'm going to have to figure this out. I'm going to have to this is my chance to make my life what I want it to be. And after getting divorced, I spent a lot of time on myself. I journaled. Actually, the first draft of my book 7-8 years ago. I journaled. I went to therapy. I read books. I did yoga. I meditated. Spent a lot of time trying to figure out who I was. And then another man. There came a point after all that healing where I started, actually, I started saying yes. I didn't start dating. I just started saying yes. Some friends called me up and said, let's go. It was 9 o'clock. I was in my pajamas. I said, okay. I said, I'm going to say yes. So I went out and I met this man. And I noticed that when we started getting closer, remember, I'm a very good liar. I have had a lot of practice pretending to be someone I'm not. So when we started getting closer, getting to know each other, it was so easy for me to go back to lying and to pretending to be someone that I'm not. And so I really had to make a concerted effort not to do that. And I remember a day we were sitting on the couch listening to music, and he is a huge music fan. He's actually here today. Thank you for your support. We were listening to music. He knows the words to every song, I swear. Two notes in. He knows the song, he knows the words. Like, how do you do it? It's not me. And so we were listening to his favorite music, Bruce Springsteen and Dave Matthews Band. Barely even knew who Dave Matthews was. I was listening to yoga music, sound car, and different kinds of music. So he turns to me and he says, well, what music do you like? And in that moment, as I watched my brain, I asked myself, who should I, how can I be who he wants me to be? What music am I supposed to say? Who does he want me to be so that he'll love me, so that I'll be enough? And in that moment, I had to stop and say, you're not doing this again. It's time for you to be yourself and to recognize that you are enough, no matter who you listen to, no matter who you are, no matter who your parents are. And so I said, I love the Indigo Girls. Any Indigo Girl fans here? Yes, thank you. Very obscure choice, but they do a lot of nostalgia for me, and I do know the words to all of those songs. So I'm very proud to say, I love Indigo Girls. He kind of looked at me a little side-eyed, and we might have to talk about that, but he said, put them on, let's listen. And he loved me anyway. And I finally have experienced unconditional love, and a deep kind of love that I had never felt before. But as much as it was him loving me, I had to love myself. I had to wake up each and every day and say to myself, okay, show up as yourself today. If you want this authentic life, if you want to feel joy, freedom, happiness, you need to show up as yourself each and every day. And so each day I would get up and I would ask myself, am I showing up as myself today? And I encourage you to ask yourself that same question on a regular basis. That music story, it's insignificant in the sense that it's about music, but it's like, some of us don't even know what music we like. You know, what foods we like. I don't know, that had been me. I had been wanting to always just be what I thought I needed to be to stay in my marriage, to be happy, to be a good mom. But I've never been more happy as I am when I'm showing up as myself. It really is worth it. It's worth the risk to be yourself. And not everybody is going to love you. Not everyone's going to like you when you show up as yourself. I tried to do that in my marriage. I tried to show up just as I was. And he said, I want a divorce. But I am happier as a result of that experience and the way that my life path went. This is me in all my authentic self. Goofy, silly. So I just wanted to share that with you. So are you ready? Are you willing to tell your story, to find a way to tell your story, to forgive yourself, to be vulnerable, to have faith, and to be yourself? So I want us to just shift the energy a little bit. I want us to just kind of find a little joy, give us a little fun. You guys want to do that? Yes. Are you sure? You don't know what I'm going to ask you to do. But what I am going to ask you to do requires a little bit of vulnerability, a little bit of you showing up for yourself, a little bit of faith in me. But it really is just for fun, and it's just a chance to kind of shake the energy up, to just practice some of these things. So if you're willing, we do have a lot of people in here today, which I am so excited about. But I would love it if you could stand up. I'll put this clicker down for a moment. And, we need a little bit of space. If there's a way to give yourself a little bit more space, if there's some room to move into, that's great. If not, it's perfectly fine. And listen, if you're not comfortable at any point doing this, if you're not able to stand, you can do this from your seat. You don't have to do it at all. You can just sit and watch and just have fun by watching. Okay? So, this is called Breath of Joy. It's a breath and a movement combined. The breath is 3 inhales and an exhale. And then the arms, now normally I'd be using 2 arms, but I have to hold this microphone, so I'm just going to use 1. But your arms go out in front. They go out to the side. You don't have that much room, so just bring them out to the side a little bit further. And then you're going to bring the arms all the way up overhead. And on that exhale, you're going to bring the arms down. Okay? And then you put it together. So I'm just going to start. If you want to join in, you can. Again, this is just for fun. If you want to just watch, it's all good. But it's an inhale, 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 exhale. Inhale, 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 exhale. Just notice how it feels to move your body, to breathe, to maybe be a little have a little fun. This is really just meant to be light and just a way to move your body and to breathe. Just one more time. And when those arms come down to your side, if you're comfortable, just close the eyes for a moment. And just feel that energy in your body. Just feel maybe some heat. Whatever you feel is okay. It's nothing you're supposed to feel. You get to be yourself here. When you're ready, just open your eyes and have a seat. I want to tell you how grateful I am for being here. I am so grateful to 1 Million Cups for giving me this platform, to Cinematique for giving me this beautiful place to stand up and speak. I want to thank all the beautiful people that came out this morning to support me. I have so many cheerleaders here. Some of them surprised me, and it's really, I'm honored. And I do find that gratitude is another way to bring joy and abundance into your life. So this is my book, Shedding Shame, Finding the Freedom to Live an Authentic Life. I share a lot more of my life story and what I've done to kind of get to this place in my life. So my book is here if you're interested. So thank you. I'm going to turn it over to if you guys have any questions or comments or feedback for me about my presentation, about my speech today.
I had the pleasure of meeting Krista through my mental health community. One of my members of my support group came to me and introduced us, and I finally caved in to doing yoga, and it changed my life emphatically. So first of all, thank you so much for being you and doing what you do. I know that one of your goals today in sharing your story is about refining this process, refining this presentation. So I'm wondering if anybody has any questions, like you said, any feedback, any thoughts about the presentation, what resonated with you all, and any suggestions on how to get in front of more speaking audiences. So go ahead and open up the floor. Awesome, got somebody in the back.
Hi, Lori Sandman from Sandman Law Office. Can you tell us about your yoga practice and where we can find you in the community, Krista?
Thanks, Lori. Yeah, I teach yoga and meditation. I teach what I like to call gentle classes, but I also teach on the beach and outdoors. I teach in Port Orange, typically indoors, but I also teach on Zoom. Since the pandemic, I figured out how to do all that, and now I live stream all of my classes. And for me, yoga really is a very powerful tool to get to know yourself. You know, if you're in that place where you want to show up as yourself, but you're not quite sure who you are, yoga is one way to figure that out. But I actually teach in the Port Orange Presbyterian Church, and there are cards on your tables. On the tables, there's a lot of goodies for you there. There is a sheet that has my contact information. There are some bracelets, some stickers. Just try to give you lots of fun things to take with you. So please feel free to take it all, even if you share it. The bracelets say "Be Authentic," so it's a reminder for you to show up as yourself. Yeah. Yeah. Just felt like there's something else I was going to say, but I don't know what it was.
Hi, this is Carlos behind the camera today. So with your incredible journey, vulnerability, being so brave, how would you suggest someone start on their travel? I realize this is it's like digging out of a swimming pool with a teaspoon, but what would you suggest for someone struggling to come out and be vulnerable and start, dispersing some of their secrets?
Go back a slide. I think that each person's journey is very different, and so those things that are on your paper there on the table, I think it's about finding out for yourself where you are in that journey. It might be finding a friend or a therapist or somebody like Casey that you can talk to and start to understand where you've come from. it was after I got divorced that I really understood the secrecy that I had been holding on to for so long. You know, I didn't have that perspective when I was going through it. Again, I think yoga is a very powerful tool. Now, it doesn't have to be standing on your head and turning into pretzels. Yoga is about so much more than that. There's a whole philosophy, and actually I do yoga retreats and events and workshops and stuff that you know, are about all the other aspects of yoga. I do think meditation is very powerful. I've been meditating since I was 20, so that's just a few years. But I think finding a way to show up as yourself and discovering who you are is how you start that journey. But it is different for each person, depending upon where you are on that path.
Yeah, thank you.
Krista, I also have a question for you. Like I said, I know that you have had the privilege of speaking at a lot of different organizations and groups, and so I'm wondering what have you been doing to expand that? What has that process been like for you, and what are some of your goals as far as public speaking goes for the 2025 year?
Yeah, thank you. My focus really is in 2025 to call myself a public speaker. It'd be really great to be called a paid public speaker. I never realized that comes with time, but I am looking for opportunities to speak. I need practice. I need audiences to ask me questions, to just get more and more comfortable. And I would appreciate any referrals, anybody, if you're connected to an organization or a corporation that is looking for speakers, that has opportunities. I do have workshops that go along with these things. There are things, breakout sessions and things like that that I can do as a part of public speaking. But I am looking for opportunities to speak. So one of my goals is to get paid in 2025 and to just have more and more opportunities. Because I do think, it just takes practice. And unfortunately, practicing in your bedroom in front of a mirror is very different than practicing in front of actual live human beings. And so I'm looking for opportunities to practice in front of live human beings. And I'm passionate about the message. I'm passionate. I mean, the book was a huge release. When it came out, some of you know this, I had that experience of standing in front of being naked in a field with all these people looking at you and nobody saying a word. Because when you publish a book, all these people read it, and you have no idea what they're thinking. Talk about an act of faith. So, it's a lot to be in front of people, and it's a big message, in my opinion. It's been my story. And when I shared my book, what I discovered was that my story, even though my story is unique, there aren't too many other people. I've actually only met one other person in my entire life who has 2 biological gay parents. But so many people resonated with the story of keeping secrets, of having shame. And so I want opportunities to try to inspire other people.
Lori McMullen with your Daytona Regional Chamber. That was a wonderful presentation. The Chamber offers up to the community Elevate Daytona Beach in the summer. It's like late July, early August. And it's open to the public to audition for. It's not a competition. It's like a TED Talk on speed. Okay. Very renowned in this community. So I think the call for auditions will start to happen in the next few months. You can follow us on our Facebook page and key into that. But that might be something you want to look into.
Thank you. I appreciate that. One of the things that I also am doing as a way to get more opportunities to speak is I have a website and I do have a public speaking page, but I really need testimonials and video and pictures. That's why some of my friends were taking pictures and videos today. If anybody is willing here today to either leave a written testimonial or provide a little video, 1 minute of what you your feelings, your reactions to the speech. That would be incredibly helpful for me because I need to put together a video to have on that website so that I can send it to people and say, this is who I am, this is what I do, this is what I offer. It's hard to do that without that stuff. So that's something else, and more opportunities. The more opportunities I have to speak, the more I can get that media as well. Thank you. I'm going to look into that.
Wonderful. Well, you totally beat me to the punch with what can 1 million cups do for you. So I love that. So testimonials, public speaking opportunities, and any feedback on the presentation. So I'll exchange that last question for one last question to the audience and any brave takers. I remember the first time that I did the Breath of Joy movement with you on the beach during yoga, and it changed so much for me. I use it all the time. It's a great way to release energy, to get moving. So I'm curious if any brave takers want to share what their experience was like doing that, especially in this audience together. I'm wondering if anybody had any thoughts about or wanted to share what their experience was like.
Well, not necessarily this exercise, but there is something to be said about breathing. People always say, don't forget to breathe, or whatever you're doing, but if you do start to practice that, it's amazing how it can help you in a panic situation or a difficult situation to just take a beat and ground yourself. I thought that was just a bunch of malarkey at some point in time, but the more you do it, it does help.
Anybody else? Any other brave takers? Oh, I see you over here, Stella.
Hello, I'm Stella with Be Balanced Natural Weight Loss Centers, and I just want to say I love breathing exercises in general, and I love how simple that one was and the fact that it had movement attached to it. So many of them that we learn are just the breath, which while that's powerful, the movement, I love movement, it was great. And we want to talk about vulnerability and being a good liar. I have been married 4 times. I did not get to meet my current mother-in-law. She passed before I met. But from the family, she does sound a lot like me, and I feel like I'm finally my true, authentic self. But I've had 3 very different mother-in-laws. And when you talk about doing things to impress the person that you're with or to want them to love you, I've thought about that when I'm doing some reflection work. It's like, I've been 3 different women completely at different times, So I love getting the chance to think about that and that, yeah, I was a great liar as well. So I think many of us probably are.
Yes. Many of us are.
Thank you, Stella. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Krista. Let's give her another round of applause.
She's gonna have she's gonna do that for me. So if that's something you're willing to do, just if you can connect with Betsy, that would be great. Thank you all so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being a part of our community and coming back to 1 Million Cups. We're so excited to get this new year started. So in true 1MC fashion, we are going to come on up and take our family photo.
All right, coming up for your mandatory family fun photo. Mandatory family fun photo.